Going on, everybody? It's Geoff Grammer with the Albuquerque Journal, and you are joining me live in the Thomas Mack Center. We are about an hour, a little over an hour away from tip-off with number 5 Boise State Broncos out on the court right now, kind of doing their early pregame warm-ups. UNM Lobos are just recently arrived at the arena and will be coming out to the court any minute now. I see Dave Pilipovich just made his way out, and he'll be coming out to the players will be coming out to the floor here momentarily. Ahead of tonight's first of 2 semifinal matchups in the Mountain West Conference tournament between number 1 New Mexico, who is a 1.5-point favorite over number 5 Boise State Broncos. The two teams split in the regular season. Boise State got here via a win last night against San Diego State, number 4 San Diego State. Really, both teams probably, I called that the game of the tournament. That was sort of an elimination game in a lot of people's estimation. We will see. We'll see if the San Diego State Aztecs on Sunday are sweating it out and they're on the right side of the bubble or not. Some bracketologists say they are, comfortably so, that they still, they have a win that nobody else on the bubble has, and that's against the number 1 seed in Houston, the Aztecs. And these Broncos, while they're right on the bubble in a lot of people's minds, they have a win that not a lot of teams on the bubble have. They have both St. Mary's win and a Clemson win. And if they happen to, they beat San Diego State yesterday. If they happen to win today, it's another quad 1 win against the Lobos. It's 3 really good wins against teams in the field. 4 if San Diego State makes it. So it'll be interesting to see what the selection committee does. And as far as tonight goes, the guy shooting free throws right now, Tyson Dagenhart, is 17 points away from being Boise State's all-time leading scorer, 18 points away from holding the title himself, and he is 17 points away from tying the Boise State all-time record for scoring. I will tell you, let me double-check that the line hasn't moved. As of right now, the 2 lines for the semifinals tonight, the later game is number 2 Colorado State versus number 3 Utah State. And as of right now, both games are still set at a 1.5-point line. I say still set. Colorado State did open as a 1.5-point favorite. That has now moved to the other side. Utah State is favored by 1.5. I don't know exactly what that's about. I do know the metrics actually have Colorado State and Utah State pretty dead even. If you look at Ken Pomeroy, let's see. Ken Pom has this game, the later game, Utah State and Colorado State, that is, as Colorado State winning 77-76, so he has that as a 1-point game at a 51%. It's pretty much a toss-up. Ken Pom, anytime he has it at 51%, it's basically about as even as you could possibly get. Colorado State is ranked 50th right now in Ken Pom. Utah State's ranked 51st. So out of 364 Division I teams, those two teams are right next to each other. As far as this game goes, New Mexico ranked 41st, and Boise State is 44th. Pretty darn close themselves. Ken Pom has this as a 75-74 win for the Lobos at 53% probability. So it's going to be close, man. It's a good one. In college basketball, it means a lot. And in terms of the who needs it more, the Broncos need this more. They're going to be sweating out Sunday and Selection Sunday if they don't get this win tonight. Frankly, I think they may still be in without the win tonight, but man, you don't want to risk it. You don't want to put this in the hands of the tournament, the committee, and why even do that, right? If you're going to come here, just go ahead and figure it out here and take care of it. Got John Romero right now on YouTube saying Nelly Jr. Joseph and the Lobos need to make the close shots tonight. Yeah, last night they were 14-28 on layups, so shots right at the rim. They were barely at 50%. But you miss some, you make some. Comment from postgame is not going to cut it tonight. I think that's certainly a fair comment. I was surprised that Nelly said that, but he was clearly frustrated. And I'm the one that asked him about missing a lot of layups and a lot of shots at the rim. I think after a win, he frankly wasn't expecting to go into a press conference and have someone ask about their struggles. But I did think it was concerning. I thought the Lobos missed too many shots at the rim. To say it's basketball, you make some, you miss some. Is sort of a little dismissive, but I'm fine with that. Like he's in a mindset right now that he wasn't, they just won, they just advanced in the tournament, and he was basically answering in a way that he didn't want to get into it and dwell on the negative. That's fine. I'm not going to be too hard on the guy for saying that. Wasn't a great comment, but I'm not going to be extremely hard on the guy for that comment. Christy, that's right. He was saving it for tonight. That is right. He they could use it tonight. I'll tell you that. He was certainly in the first half anyway in Boise. Was certainly playing next level. A lot of dunks, a lot of on that pick and roll. He was aggressive. He was attacking the rim. He was doing all the things that make him a really good big in this conference. He was shut down quite a bit in the second half. That was certainly Boise's doing. That was not necessarily UNM forgetting about him. That was, the guards didn't get him the ball a whole lot, but that had a lot to do with the fact that the Boise State defense basically prevented UNM from getting Nelly Jr. Joseph involved as much in the second half of that game. So as far as keys to this game go tonight, obviously I think that you're looking at looks like we got some people behind us here. Let's see here. You just walked away. Yeah, you're looking at as far as keys go tonight, I do think True Washington and his defense and on-ball defense with Alvaro Cardenas, who's a fantastic point guard, is going to be key. If by chance True has a game where his 7 turnovers, forces 7 turnovers like he did in the pit, it's going to be it'll certainly bode well for the Lobos. If Alvaro Cardenas has a game where he has like 10 assists like he did in Boise, then it's going to bode well for the Broncos. I do think that True Washington's on-ball defense is as good as anybody's in the entire league. I think the Lobos, who did finish this season with the number 1 defense in the Mountain West, according to Ken Pom, they did actually beat San Diego State out for best defense in the Mountain West, according to Ken Pom. They did that when they moved True Washington to basically be the on-ball guard, whoever's the primary ball handler the opposing team was, right? So when they did that, he basically, the Lobos defense really took it the next step. Now, again, I'm not going to say it's a regression, but it did kind of step back a little bit the last 5, 6, 7 games maybe. The defense hasn't been as good. But when the Lobos were at their best in that stretch in January and early February, when they beat this Boise State team by nearly 20, they beat San Diego State by double digits. They basically, who else did they beat Utah State in Logan by 19, their worst loss at home since 1996. That was when True Washington was on the primary ball handler of every opposing team. That was when the Lobos were at their best in terms of turning defense into offense, getting out in fast break, getting out in transition, and that's something that they need to do a better job of. They have not done as good a job of that recently as they had earlier in the year. I know yesterday they had 4 fast break points. Now, they also had 24 points off turnovers, and they forced 18 turnovers against San Jose State, so that's really good, especially against the San Jose State team that isn't necessarily turnover prone by any stretch of the imagination. So the Lobos did good defensively yesterday, but they weren't able to then take the next step and convert that to transition opportunities. They'll need to do that today against Boise State to be at their best. Let's get back to a couple of your comments here. Steve is saying on YouTube, we definitely need to shoot better than 30% from 3 and 60% from the line. So the national average on free throw shooting is low 70s. They need to get to the line, I would say. I think that if you can get the Broncos into foul trouble, which they don't do a lot of, if you can get them into foul trouble, you're in a really good position. If you can get to the line, obviously you want to go ahead and make it. If you're getting there, you might as well make them, right? They would like to shoot in the 70s if they can, but they'd also like to get to the line 20 times. If this is a get to the line 10 or less times, they're going to be in trouble. If they can get to the line 20 times, it's probably because they are doing things that indicate they're being aggressive. They're attacking the rim. They're having their way on offense a little bit. So if they can get to the free throw line a lot, I think it bodes well for the Lobos. Jimmy H on YouTube is saying free throws for the Lobos tonight are more important for the Lobos than normal. BSU tends to be very accurate. Let's see here. As far as the matchups go, I am going to read you the matchup kind of stats here from Ken Pom. In league play, New Mexico's defense ranks number 1. That was just through 20 league games. It doesn't count the first round or the quarterfinal round of the Mountain West tournament. As you can tell, I am on the Boise State side of the court, which is where my seat on Media Row is. So you can't really see the Lobos as much. You can just kind of see these Broncos warming up. So that is the best we're going to get from right here. Same as BJ Raines out at the other end of the court. He's doing his pregame show, and he's basically showing a whole lot of Lobos warming up right now. So anyway, as far as the free throws go, You're right, Jimmy, but I was going to read to you the Ken Palm stats. According to the analytics, New Mexico in league play was number 1 in defense. Boise State offense was ranked number 3. New Mexico's offense was ranked number 4. Boise State's defense was ranked number 4. So while their offense, defense, when New Mexico has the ball, it should be even in terms of, ranked fourth. The defense is slight edge to New Mexico, and especially on a neutral court, which while this is a neutral court, it is going to be predominantly Lobo fans in the arena tonight. There will be a lot of Utah State fans as well. Utah State traveled extremely well this year. I'm told 500 students from the herd are here. I know Jared Calhoun and some other people with the school helped pay for 500 students to travel and get tickets to the Mountain West tournament for the herd, the student section. I don't know how many are here from UNM's Hellraisers. I'm looking around. I just don't know for sure. Other things, though, analytically and statistically speaking, that Boise State does really well on offense. They're the best offensive rebounding team in the conference, basically getting an offensive rebound on every 1/3, 32.7%, so almost every 1/3 of their missed shots. They rebound themselves and get a second chance opportunity. So if the Lobos, who are number 2 defensively against that and holding teams down to 23% for an opposing team to get the offensive rebound, if the Lobos get the better end of that matchup, that should really reduce the second chance point opportunities for Boise State. And that would also, again, bode well for the Lobos. In terms of shooting percentages, Boise State ranks 9th, pretty poor shooting outside this year. They are not an accurate three-point shooting team. They're only shooting 32% from beyond the arc, and UNM is preventing teams from shooting very well from beyond the arc and on 2-point percentage. So the Lobos are number 2 and number 3 defensively in the 11-team conference in terms of opposing team shooting percentage from 2. On the offensive side of the board, New Mexico doesn't shoot a whole lot of threes, but they're actually shooting them at a higher clip than most people give them credit for. And Boise State doesn't defend the 3 very well. They're ranked 9th. In terms of block percentage, Boise doesn't block a lot of shots. They're dead last in the league in that. So UNM can attack the rim a little bit more. If you're afraid, like they appeared to be in that San Diego State loss, for having their shot blocked, and a really good two-point shooting defense in San Diego State, you don't have that today. You don't have the shot blocking from Boise State that you do from a San Diego State. So I do think the Lobos can and should attack the rim a whole lot more than they did in the second game in Boise this year. I think the Lobos are at their best when they are attacking the rim, when Nelly down low is dunking and not just trying to have a soft touch on every single shot around the rim. Let me go ahead and move this here. Oh, no, she's going that way. So sorry about that. I do think the Lobos are at their best when they're attacking that rim and scoring around the basket, whether it be Donovan finishing at the rim, whether it be Nelly Jr. Joseph getting the ball down low and having one of his back-to-the-basket post moves. What they need to do, though, is get to the rim. Mustafa Amzil as well. I know he's been struggling from shooting three-pointers. He's still going to shoot a few of those, especially if he's open. Certainly opens things up for the Lobos if he does that. So that is why Richard Pitino still wants him shooting those when he's open. But he also is a much better player at the rim and back to the basket than he was last year. And the Lobos need him to really take a lot more twos than anything tonight. He did not play, remember, in the Boise game. In the game in Boise, Jovan Milicevic got the start as a freshman, and frankly, Tyson Degenhart, his career-high 32 points, had a lot to do with the fact that a freshman was guarding him. And the Lobos had to kind of rotate some guys to the fore because they didn't have Mustafa Amzil. So of all the criticisms of Mustafa Amzil, the fact that you can have a fifth-year senior and a guy who's gotten a lot better at defense get some minutes on Tyson Degenhart, it's much better than a freshman, trying to throw a freshman out there and try and defend one of the best all-time players in Mountain West history. Certainly one of the best four-year players in Mountain West history in Tyson Degenhart. So Brett Newberry saying, watch the Boise State pregame show today. One of the broadcasters said Dent was the second best player in the Mountain West. Could be. Yeah, could be. I certainly don't think so. The coaches certainly didn't think so. And the voting went to Donovan Dent. National writers and coaches don't think so because he's made 2 All-American lists and nobody else in the league has. So I do think that there was another player in this league that had a player of the year type season in Nick Clifford. I just think that Donovan Dent's slightly better than him. So there's my 2 cents on the Donovan Dent thing. I will say this: Donovan Dent's now in the last couple games done 2 things that no Mountain West player has ever done. He finished the regular season Mountain West play as the first player in Mountain West history. No Jimmer Fredette, no Kendall Williams, no Darrington Hobson. Nobody's ever done this. No Kawhi Leonard. He's the first player in Mountain West history to average 20 points and 6 assists in the season. And he last night had 25 points and 5 assists, becoming the first player in Mountain West history to ever have 5 consecutive games of at least 20 points and at least 5 assists. Again, no Jimmer, no. We do have a really good trend here of people standing in front of the camera here. So, and of course now she's moving. So I apologize about that. But yeah, I think Donovan Dent's having a fantastic year, and he's had 5 consecutive games of 20 and 5. Nobody else in the league has ever done that. 26 years of Mountain West history. Lobo Fish on YouTube. Thanks for streaming, Geoff. Keep in mind how little respect most Boise State fans have for UNM. I love wins over Boise State in any sport so much. Go Lobos. I don't know if Boise State has any more or less respect. I think there's some vocal fans in every fan base that certainly speak up, and when you're good, you tend to speak up a little bit more. Boise State's been good for a long time in this league. They've been good more recently than have the Lobos, certainly, but the Lobos have much longer and richer history than does Boise State in basketball. It's just that over the past decade, it really took Richard Pitino the last few years to kind of get him back on track. So there's so many fans in Boise and around the league that probably don't remember that 10 years ago, this was a 1A and a 1B between San Diego State and New Mexico. It wasn't just San Diego State kind of running this league. It was certainly a 1A and 1B. And that was a dozen years ago, though. And New Mexico feels like they're on the track back. And they did win this league outright this year. They didn't share the title. They didn't want to share the title. Got the coach of the year. They got the player of the year. And they're back in the NCAA tournament for the 2nd year in a row. They feel like they're on their road back. And so there you go. When you're the top dog, everybody seems to hate you a little bit more, I guess. Elevate your game. We make more than 7 threes. It's a dub. Book it. That is your stat, isn't it? Elevate your game has been pointing that out all year. Get a little better look at some of the Lobos warming up now, it looks like. It's kind of opened up a bit. Maybe not. They got back in the way. But, yeah, 7 threes would be great for the Lobos. I do know that they don't rely on the 3 very much. So 7's sort of a magic number in that they don't shoot that many usually. They shoot. I would say that they would probably have to keep it to 20 or less attempts just because that's not really their game. Yesterday, Boise State against San Diego State, because they're so good at 2-point shooting, Boise State shot 40. By design, shot 40 3-pointers. They only hit 27% of them. But when you're shooting 40 of them because you're so afraid to go inside against San Diego State, as Leon Rice said they were, then it's pretty telling how good San Diego State is at protecting the rim and defense against the 2-point shot. And that's sort of why I think the fact that Boise State isn't a shot-blocking team, that New Mexico can have success again. There is no intimidation factor at the rim for Nelly Jr. Joseph. There's no intimidation factor at the rim for Donovan Dent and other guards going and finishing. But this is a sound defensive team. It's not like Boise State doesn't defend. They just aren't shot blockers. So we'll see how that goes. Sean on YouTube. They have, I think it's gave away about 100 tickets. Is that for the students when I said that earlier, maybe? Eric Tapia on YouTube. Boise will be shooting those threes tonight. Let's go Lobos. They will be. They don't shoot them at a high percentage all season, but they could tonight. John Romero on YouTube. Let's hope the post-game presser for the Lobo faithful is going to be a happy one. For Cookie Monster there at the end. Let's see what else we got here. SM on X is saying the game before the Lobos game on CBS is barely at halftime. People probably going to miss the first half. I will say they did slide this game start back to 6:41 local time, 7:41 in Albuquerque. In fact, while we're talking, I'm going to put that onto X and post that tonight. All right, it's Mountain West semifinal game between number 1, UNM Lobos, and number 5, Boise State Broncos. Has been pushed back to 6:41 p.m. Pacific time, 7:41 Mountain time. The Sports Network. I will hit that on the old X. For those that follow me there, you will see the wonderfully crafted schedule update tweet that I just posted. I was looking for one other thing, but oh well, I'm not seeing it here. All right, so there you go. The game time has been pushed back a few minutes. People thinking it was going to start at 6:30. It will be 6:41, so you got about 11 minutes extra there to go get those drinks. What do we got here? Other questions and comments here. We got Sean on X. Who's the X factor besides Donnie and Nelly for this game? Doesn't have to be scoring, but true impact. You said it right there. True impact. I'd say True Washington. True Washington. His on-ball defense against Alvaro Cardenas is to me going to be key. I think Alvaro Cardenas is a guy that, as he goes, this Boise State offense really goes. And actually, the guy walked right in front of me right now, Andrew Meadow. He's going to hit corner threes. He's going to hit some tonight. And he's been a fantastic player down the stretch for Boise State. But as far as X factors go, if I'm going to have to guess one, I'm going to say the on-ball defense of True Washington and what he can or can't do with Alvaro Cardenas, who's a veteran point guard trying to get to his first NCAA tournament. I would say that's going to be the X factor matchup for me tonight, is those two guys right there. Kyle's asking, did your daughter coin flip choose the Lobos? So normally we don't do a coin flip in the Mountain West tournament. We ended at the end of the regular season. But when I was here, an hour ago before the game, had some fans up in the top of this arena right now yelling down at me, who did my daughter pick? Who did my daughter pick? So I sent a text back to Albuquerque, and my daughter, who's now a teenager, so certainly of age to get text messages, flipped a coin for me, and I can, for Lobo fans, tell you the coin picked the Lobos. Frank is asking, what are the odds Donovan Dent stays with UNM? Don't know, Frank. Nelly seems down on the post-game conference about his shots last game. Any chance you see him back to green? Yeah, I agree. I think so. I would say that Nelly, I do think he was a little frustrated last night with how he played at the rim. He missed a lot of shots at the rim, and I just think that, it wasn't a great matchup, or it wasn't even about the matchup. It wasn't a great game for him offensively necessarily. Now, he did have a double-double. He became the first Lobo in Mountain West tournament history, second Lobo in Mountain West tournament history, rather, to have 18 rebounds. And no, I'm sorry, he was the first Lobo ever to have 18 rebounds in Mountain West tournament history. And there was only one other Lobo that ever had 18 rebounds in any conference tournament, and that was Louis Lamar, had 18 rebounds in the WAC tournament in 1994. So it's not like Nelly had a bad game by any stretch. I mean, he did some things and moved up into the top 5 of single-season rebounding. He's doing some things that are great defensively and rebounding-wise. He did have 14 points, but he was a little frustrated because Patino got on him a little bit, and then I asked him about it. He was trying to play with touchdown around the rim and just really too soft around the rim. And, Patino yelled at him during one of the timeouts, really tore into him a little bit, like, just dunk it. And sometimes Nelly has to be reminded that physically he's a beast. He is different. He is not like all these other guys on the court. Like, he is built different. And sometimes he has to be reminded of that and just be, take the ball up strong, dunk it. Don't just lay it up or soft touch, kind of hook shot kind of stuff. Just dunk it. And when he does that, he's a much better player at the rim than he was yesterday. Jerry on YouTube is saying, is tip time pushed back from 6:30? Lobo's X account said tip was an hour from now, 10 minutes ago. CBS game just at halftime. Yes, I know you posted that before. I just said it, so I may have already answered your question. But anybody just tuning in now, tip time is 6:41 Pacific time, local here in Las Vegas, 7:41 Mountain time. It's been pushed back. Anybody expecting 6:30 will not be at 6:30 Pacific time. It will be 6:41. So there you go. St. John's wins. Lobo's up next. Yes, the Patino Bowl, the Patino competition as to who's going to win not only more regular season championships, they both got one. Now they're both in contention for both winning conference tournament championships. They both already won Coach of the Year, did Rick and Richard Pitino. So, obviously Richard Pitino wants to hold up his end of the bargain and at least get another win today against Boise State and advance to tomorrow's championship game. I do think that there's a slim chance. I don't really see it necessarily happening, but I do think there's a slim chance that the Lobos could see their seed move up to one of the last 7 spots, which would get them out of the 8-9 line. The 8-9 line, of course, means that should they win a first-round game in the NCAA tournament, they would most likely be playing the 1 seed, which this year is a Houston, a Florida, a Duke, maybe a Duke without a Cooper flag, but a Duke and an Auburn. You just don't want that set up. You take your chances with being a 7-10 game rather than that 8-9 game, because then your second-round opponent might be a 2 at least, and you'll just take your chances a little better with that. But Lobos are just happy to be in the tournament. If they win this Mountain West tournament, I think there's a small chance that they get up to a 7. They're probably locked into the 8-9 game. But if they lose today, I suppose worst-case scenario is they could drop to the 10 because they are in the 8-9 line for a lot of teams. And for the 5th time, we are now blocked by the same person. So there you go. See what else we got here. All right, I am going to have to get off here, turn the broadcast off because the CBS broadcast window and the media rights for the broadcast courtside start a half hour before game time. It was supposed to start at 6 o'clock because game time was supposed to be 6:30. I don't know if the slide affects the broadcast window, but anyway, I will wrap it up here. I will double check the final lines for tonight. They still look, at least on ESPN Bet, to be UNM favored by 1.5. You got Utah State in the next game favored by 1.5 as well. This is, the top 5 teams are the top 5 teams in this conference for a reason. And I think this year it's good that this tournament is the top 5 teams. 4 of the top 5 teams are remaining. Obviously, it couldn't be all 5 in the Final Four. But this is right. This is how it should be, giving each team some good win opportunities right up until the bitter end and trying to make the tournament. I don't think Colorado State makes the tournament without winning the Mountain West tournament. I don't know if Boise State's going to make it without winning tonight. But Utah State and New Mexico should both be in comfortably and are, in my mind, and according to most bracketologists, incomfortable. So there you go. Again, tip time for the Lobos and the Broncos has been moved back to 6:41. I would say X factors, just to kind of recap some of the stuff we talked about. X factors include true Washington, in my mind, having a great on-ball defense kind of game against Alvaro Cardenas, the point guard for the Boise State Broncos. Tyson Dagenhart going off for a career-high 32 in Boise. Certainly wouldn't help if he does that again, but he is also, first of all, he's very, very good, but he's also 17 points away from the program record, the Boise State program record, all-time scoring record, 17 points away from tying, 18 points away from breaking the Boise State all-time record. And got Boise State's band down there playing. We got UNM's band just showing up here, and we are 34 minutes, according to the clock here in the arena, 34 minutes away from tip-off. And good Lord, there's nobody within 20 feet except of my camera and this person who has multiple times now stood in front of my camera. So anyway, we got the Lobos down there warming up. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Follow along. ABQJournal.com is where you can find my coverage. You can also follow me on X at Geoff Grammer. Of course, remember, I spelled Geoff wrong. I spelled Grammer wrong. You're going to have to find me by spelling those things wrong. And after the game, I will have not only a post-game story, but I will try and update you guys on, should they lose, on what might be going on Sunday. I do think that they're going to have something selection show-wise in the pit, I believe. If that is true and that I can confirm it, I will certainly let everybody on social media know, and certainly let everybody in my coverage in the Albuquerque Journal know. If they win, obviously, they will be playing tomorrow at 3 o'clock local time here in Las Vegas. The championship game, the Mountain West championship game, is 3 o'clock local, 4 o'clock Mountain time. That game will not be on CBS Sports Network. That game will be on CBS, the actual old school CBS, the network television network. There we go. David Thompson on YouTube. We're right about True being the X factor on Seal could play into the Lobo win, but our secret weapon is the Patino's kick butt gummies. St. John's sure ate their share, father like son. I do know Patino Richard, that is, got asked a question about his dad last night after a win, and something like, what do you think your dad would have said then? And like, look, man, he deals with it fine most of the time, but like, he is his own coach. He's been more than a decade a head coach at the Division I level. He is trying to get his team into the NCAA tournament. The St. John's stuff is fine. He's rooting for St. John's, but he's his own coach too. He doesn't like everything he does to be clouded with but what does his dad think? And hey, look what his dad did. The Lobos are trying to, be their own team a little bit too. So he certainly is a St. John's fan, but I know last night he wasn't overly happy with that, with the question about what would your dad have told your team. So that was interesting. He said, I don't know what my dad would have said. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for following along. 30 minutes from tip-off. Should be a fun one in the Thomas Mack Center. Thanks, guys.